So how I got into this business was really through my cousin, who at the time she was the director of sales for basically for the suites and the club boxes. So like it was, and it had to do with food because again I worked for Aramark as when I first started, and again they were the food service company. But yeah, so she was the director of sales, and I at the time I was an artist. I did a lot of murals. And my mother would get me jobs because she was an interior decorator, and we lived in a very affluent town. It was at one point rated like, best town to live in the U.S. And, there was a lot of celebrities, football, baseball, sports athletes, I guess you call it, lived in the town, and there's a lot of money going around. People would pay top dollar for painting. And I was struggling with being young and not knowing how to manage my money. And my cousin at one point in time, said to me, because I was complaining, like I would get these, whatever it was, $5,000 job, and 2 weeks later, I don't have 2 nickels to scratch together because I blew it all because I was young and dumb. But, my cousin one day said to me, she's like, why don't you come work for, at the building down there, because they're looking for supervisors and, I can get you in. I said, I don't know, the first thing about supervising, the extent of my supervision skills at that time was hiring painters who would either not show up to work or come in drunk, and you just dealt with them. And I didn't really have any experience in managing other people. And she's like, no, it's fine. It's not like that. I didn't really know what that meant. She was, encouraging me to do it and saying look, you can still do all your painting stuff during the daytime. This is just a nighttime gig, and it's not every night of the week. It's just certain nights when there's games. So sorry, whatever. I went down, I did an interview, and the guy I interviewed, I should probably leave names out of this because I don't know what they want me to say, and some of the stuff is I don't know if anybody wants you telling their stories, but. Yeah, so I went down, and this guy who I still to this day talk to, and this was 30 plus years ago. Well, was it that long? I don't know how long ago it was. A long time. It was a long time ago when I went down there. And I went to interview with the guy, and he basically told me, when you show up, just have dress pants on, shirt, tie. You don't have to wear a suit, but, you got to get dressed up. So, I'm getting dressed up, and I don't dress up. I'm an artist, a painter. I just wear what I want to wear. Skater, surfboard. I got to spend most of my time surfing and skating and things like that. Getting dressed up wasn't in my wheelhouse, but whatever, I did it. I was guaranteed a flat rate per event, and didn't matter if it was you were there for 6 hours or 4 hours, it was still the same amount. I thought that was pretty neat, and I could also quickly calculate what my check was going to be for the week, so I can kind of look ahead and say, all right, there's 4 nights this week, I'm going to make X amount of dollars. I'm cool with that. And it was a good way to help me learn how to budget my money. And from that, I learned a lot of things during that start of that career there. But the very beginning of the career was getting hired as a supervisor, not knowing what the heck that all meant. But my first day, I show up, and this is in South Philadelphia. At the First Union Center, and in South Philadelphia, around that time, mafia was big. Like there was, like in the early 90s, mid 90s, a lot of mafia activity, and everybody knew somebody that was connected in the, the mafia. It was a special time to be alive in Philadelphia. So at any rate, I show up and I got my dress shoes on, which are already killing my feet, and didn't realize, like, hey, I got hours of wearing these things and a lot of walking to do. But I got my dress shoes on. I think I borrowed a tie from my dad. I got a shirt and pants on, and I go in the office, and the guy that hired me, his desk is there, and there's a bunch of chairs around the perimeter of the room. And I walk in, and there's all these old Italian guys, and I'm saying old. Now I'm an old man, but to me back then when I was 19ish or so, I don't know, maybe it was 18, whatever it was. The guys were like probably 60s, maybe, I guess you'd say, which isn't too old, nowadays in perspective. But the one guy's got yellow tinted, like, looks like a lounge singer, glasses on. The other guy looks like he's straight out of a mafia movie. Every one of them just all Italian last names, we'll say. And there's one older guy that's kind of like Uncle June. He's definitely the seasoned guy around there. There's another guy he's probably in better shape, but probably closer to his age. Anyway, it's an interesting crowd. So this meeting, is getting started here, and we're supposed to be starting at a certain time. I forget, say 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, maybe it was 5 o'clock, whatever it was. The guy that hired me, he's like, close that door. Tells me, shut that door. So I go shut the door, and as soon as I shut it, the door opens up, and this younger, again, Italian kid, big guy, like a gorilla. Like, he comes in, oh, sorry, I'm late. And so he comes in the meeting, and the boss, the guy that hired me, is like, all right, we got a lot of important stuff to talk about here today. I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to learn something, what we're doing. The guy reaches down into his desk drawer, and he opens up the bottom drawer on his desk, and he pulls out the latest Playboy. And he's like, look at this centerfold this month. You got to be kidding me. Starts going off about this, and all the guys in the room are like, oh, yeah. Oh, you know who she is? Going on about this centerfold. I'm like, am I in the right place? Like, I thought we were learning what we needed to go do. And they're talking like this is a regular old, this is what they do every day. And this went on for an hour. I mean, it wasn't just talking about that Playboy. It was talking about, this guy's socks are breaking his, stones. It's like, whatever time it was, January, and he's got Christmas socks on. And they're like, what are you doing with Christmas socks on? Or maybe it was the summer. I don't remember when it was. But yeah, actually it was the beginning of basketball season. So the the meeting goes on, and we're spent more time talking about numbers and who's going to pick up, money from this one and that one. It was like a scene out of a movie. I'm like, you got to be kidding me with this. So he's like, all right, everybody get up there. And he's talking about get up there because we're down on the event level floor, and that's where the offices and stuff were. And he's like, get up on the floor, like the main concourse, and then there's like the second level, the mezzanine, it's called. So he's like, get up there on the floor, and he just points at me, and he's like, get with him, and he says the guy's name. I'm not saying names here, but he's like, you get with him, he'll show you what to do. So I follow this guy, this younger guy. He's my age, so he was about the same age, but he was been in there for a couple years prior, and he takes me into this room that's like you gotta get buzzed in. And I walk in, and it's this all brick cement wall, and there's two like bulletproof glass windows that are there with these big, huge, I don't know what they were, like bins that you'd pull down to pass something through. And he's like, oh, this is a new guy here, and he just points over to me, and the woman in the room, she's like, okay. here, sign this. And she has me sign a piece of paper, and she puts this duffel bag through. Now, I don't know what I'm doing, but they gave me a duffel bag full of $70,000 in cash, and I had to sign this paper saying that I received it. And I'm like, what? You don't even know me. Like, what do you mean you're giving me $70,000 in cash in ones and fives and quarters? And yeah, quarters are heavy as all get out, by the way. But anyway, my job ends up being that I got to go around to all the different concession stands and ask them if they need change. They need to buy change from me. So they're all issued a starting bank. And at some point during the night, they get a ton of 20s and 5s and 100s or whatever it is, and they're giving change out. And now they need more change to make change for the new customers. This is, again, before credit cards were a big thing. I didn't even think we took credit cards. Everything was shoe boxes, basically, back then. So my job is to walk around the concourse with the general public, and I have a duffel bag full of $70,000 in cash that I'm apparently responsible for because I signed off on it. So I'm blown away that, first of all, they even gave me this money. And then second, what am I supposed to do with this? I got to guard this from, with my life. I don't even have 2 nickels to scratch together, let alone pay back $70,000, or I guess I'll go to jail or something. So anyway, I get on, I get the bag, sign off, and I go with the guy, and he takes me over to the elevator. He's like, yeah, we're going to go to this elevator over here. It's better. So there's multiple elevators that go out. We get on the elevator, doors close, and he just looks over at me. He's like, hey, you sniff underwear? I said, what? So I sniff underwear? We didn't know. What are you talking about? He's like, I work for the county, and I got to go do inspections at people's apartments, and man, I love smelling underwear, especially when you see the pictures of the girls and stuff that live there. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. So I'm like, okay, I'm already like, I'm kind of done with this conversation, but let me just do my job here, first day. So we get off the elevator and we go up into this concession stand that has this big, huge back area. And they're cooking pizzas back there, and like they satellite them out. So they cook them here, but they shift them over to this place and that place. And there's a whole bunch of employees that are in there. And one was, she's probably my age now, who she was a stripper, a washed up stripper. This is what I come to find out later on. Her mother works there, and then there's all these other people. But I'm young, again, that 18, 19-year-old kid. I'm fresh meat to these old cougars, right? So there's like all these old women, which now again are my age, but at the time, old women, old cougars, all oogling me and everything. Now I have a radio for communication, and this radio is tucked in my back pocket of my dress pants, and I have this duffel bag slung over my shoulder that weighs 1,000,000 pounds because it's got, I don't know, $1,500 in quarters in it. Like 3 boxes of quarters. And this woman comes up from behind me, and she unbuckles my pants, and they fall to the floor because of the weight of the radio that's in my back pocket. So now, and I don't have underwear on either. So now I'm sitting here, balls out. I'm just exposed, right? And everybody's, oh my God, oh, look at this guy, woo, he's ready. So I'm dropping everything, trying to pull my pants back up, and I'm like, what is going on around this place? So yeah, that was the start of the night. Then I went on later on, doing the job of walking around, selling the change to people and everything. It went fairly smooth. Like, there was nobody really asked any questions of you from the public. Nobody really paid attention to you. You were able to go in the back of the stand, so you didn't have to actually, do that. But nobody knows who I am, so I gotta make contact with someone in the concession stand and tell them I'm the new supervisor. And then I got people, older guys, you tell me, what do you know? You're my new supervisor. I'm not a supervisor. I'm literally a glorified, ATM, basically. Like, I'm not supervising anything, but I go around, and now everywhere I go, every stand has some old cougar in it that's all over me, and I'm like, is this, it's bizarre, like that, this, how things were back in the day, because nowadays you would be, fired from HR with it, would have your ass. Actually, it's a funny story. Like nowadays, we'll have orientations for hours and hours, and my orientation back then was just with this woman who I still talk to all the time. She's still around. She's a great woman. But she did payroll, and payroll was basically, HR equivalent at the time. So she goes, "Oh yeah, you're new? Your cousin's cousin? Okay, follow me." So we go. She walks me down to where the employee entrance is here. And there's time clocks on the wall, and she's like, "See these? You see this? You don't effing clock in, you don't effing get paid." I said, "Okay, got it." And that was it. That was your orientation. So, the HR didn't exist back then. And, it was just a crazy first day. And, the second day didn't get much better than that. It was the same type of thing over and over again. And the stories that I have from that, every day, I would say, 10 years into being in that business and saying, I've seen it all. I've seen everything now. And then that night, something else that you're like, I can't even believe that just happened. So, you're dealing with the public drinking, consuming alcohol, and, out having a good time. You get to see some wild and crazy stuff. And the employees, they're there as a good time, as a fun second job. There's a lot of artist interaction type things that come up. So, yeah, it should be fun letting you guys know some of the other stories that I had, but I'm going to cut it off there for now. I'm going to run into a story here, but hope you guys enjoyed that first day story at work.